Okay, the meat's connected, but the slap itself disappeared.
The meat's connected. Wow, what a horrible way to describe clapping. What is up, kids? It's me, Chelsea. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the Chill With Me podcast. Today I have Daemon Archer. Hello. It's so weird when we've already been having, like, a conversation, and I just end it like we've just started a new conversation.
It's just like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm glad to be here.
What's up, guys? We was making cookies and decided to talk about Bioshock.
Breaching a heavy topic.
No kidding. My other podcast, well, it's not a different podcast, it's the same podcast. When I talk about Disney stuff, I have my sister and Jimothy in the podcast. So with games, I'm going to have the Featherfall crew in. Maybe sometimes they don't play video games. So yeah, mostly the Featherfall crew. But today we're going to be talking about Bioshock 1, 2, and 3, the differences, whether we liked it or not, what made them good games versus bad games, etc., etc. I think we should probably start with like an overview of each one. So starting with Bioshock 1, basically, you're some guy on an airplane, it crashes, you go underwater, you meet a guy named Atlas. Fuck you, Atlas. By the way, there's going to be mad spoilers. If you haven't played Bioshock 1, 2, or 3, maybe go make a sandwich and do something else or play the damn game. When we get into Rapture, which is an amazing scene of you going over, and there's a whale, and it's great, you realize that it's kind of a dystopia. There's splicers, there's a bunch of drug addicts, and Atlas is going to guide you to your future. You meet Andrew Ryan, who is the creator of Rapture, who's kind of a nutter butter, and he wanted to release people from the shackles of normal society to shape their own destiny. And then we get introduced to various characters and plot lines along the way. Anything specific you want to say about the first game of Bioshock's story?
Well, we could say that this game is still very encapsulated in the same place, and you barely meet any of the people you actually talk about. Most of their stories or their personalities are just... You just perceive them through what's called data logs in today's modern era. Back then, it was just some sort of, what is a camcorder? Not a camcorder.
A recorder, like a tape recorder.
Tape recorder, that's it.
Yeah. So there is like a whole society built on this story that you kind of get bits and pieces of, but it's since broken down. The antagonists of these games, or main enemy, I guess, being Andrew Ryan and Frank Fontaine, are not seen throughout the game until the very end, but their influence can be seen throughout the society that they've created, the kind of people on either side of them. And that's what kind of makes the enemies of this game a little strange, because while they could just be on their own, doing their own thing, they're so entrapped by what's been built around them that they become hostile and in Kookaburra.
And that thing being Atlas. And, Adam and Eve. They're so intoxicated.
Adam and Eve. Which gives people magical superpowers of fire and ice and bees. I never really understood the bees one. Like, why?
I felt that was so weird, because did you ever see the original teaser trailer for Bioshock? And you
I think I did, but like
it's
years
a guy
ago.
Gets attacked by a big daddy. He unleashes a bunch of bees on him to eventually kill it, and then eventually, as he turns around, he's like, "Oh, I finally escaped this big mech warrior." Another big daddy kills the guy from behind, and it's I guess a show.
Double daddied.
Yeah, exactly. I guess he aggroed twice.
Nice. I didn't get some of them, but I mean, it made sense. The way they built the atom and the use for plasmids is pretty cool. How it's like, that's one thing that made me laugh though, because the advertisements for it is like, oh, you can light your cigarette, or you can be stronger, or you can use this to make your everyday life easier. Yeah, but then when it like you get these plasmids, it goes light enemies on fire, freeze your enemies with a single blast. Like, were they expecting
Well, of
enemies?
course they were. They had the bandolier guy, the one who sold you through the Circus of Valleys and such. You just buy guns and bullets forever.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't understand why Andrew Ryan would have already assumed, like, yo, these people are going to be assholes to each other. Let's just give them the tools to murder one another and it'll be fine. I mean, actually, it does make sense, because he was like, protect your own and everything you build is for you, so... Okay.
I'd say that's a gameplay segregation. They were just like, well, how else are people easily going to be able to find themselves ammo? let's just have a really stupid idea of people just build. Just imagine being the guy who had to switch out the ammo. Like he came with a giant cart and he filled it with chocolate bars and those giant syringes.
I'm just gonna put some needles in here, some drugs.
Hey, back off!
Apple.
Get away from me!
Do you think Big Daddies did it? Like they would have some of the Big Daddies restock?
That would make more sense. They attached
Yep.
like the scent of a little sister to it or something.
Yeah. And be like, yo, if you restock this, we'll give you more little babies.
We'll give you your baby back.
Baby back ribs. But yeah, the other characters in Bioshock 1 2 are pretty interesting. Like, he's my favorite, and I always forget his name, the artist.
I thought you were going to go with the dentist.
Oh, you promised me pretty, Steinman. That's the only way I can remember his name is through the chick knocking on the door. You promised me pretty. I like him. I liked his turnaround because I don't feel like he was inherently evil. I think he just lost his mind because he was so used to recreating beauty.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, but him especially it's all preference with him. The way Adam works and like fucks up people's faces, I would assume that he just constantly had to start rebuilding the same faces over and over again. I'm sure he got sick of it and then just decided, like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna Picasso the hell out of this bitch. And then just went Nutter Butters.
Well, that's the thing about most of the game is supposed to be like a tragedy, at least, unless the developers are really sadistic. It's built up in a place where people try to escape from their everyday monotonous lives, and eventually, through like the freedom of rapture, they unfortunately underwent like a transformation. Most of them are trying to be like normal everyday citizens, and even though some of them have weird personal problems and perks through their audio logs, they like everybody eventually becomes Nutter Butter as you pushed it. The one I don't remember is
then that takes over.
Yeah. What was Atlas's exact deal? What was his original plan?
So Atlas started out, when you first meet him, you kind of he projects himself as like the leader of some kind of revolution against Andrew Ryan to try and fix up Rapture again. And then when his partner dies, you don't realize, he says, my family's trapped in a submarine. We're looking to escape Rapture and go to the surface. No. So you have to help him get his family back. And then Andrew Ryan's like, fuck your family, and blows up the submarine. And then he's like, fuck it, we just gonna kill this sucker. So we're gonna find Andrew Ryan, even though Atlas sucks and he's horrible and I hate him so much and he's stupid faced and he's stupid. Eventually
you come to the point where he starts taking your powers away, but only just. He still gives you enough power to let you be able to fight your way out and kill him. It's somewhat strange.
Yeah.
It's the weakest part of the game, I think.
I mean, I liked when you eventually found out why it was you were following his commands and weren't breaking free and doing kind of your own thing. It made the game through the second playthrough feel way too linear because you wanted to be like, is there any way to defy this guy? Is there any way to break free and just do my own thing? But in the initial gameplay, you don't feel like you're being forced forward, which I like. There's a lot of openness to it. But later on through the second playthrough, once you figure out who Atlas is and that he is Frank Fontaine, you're like, oh, fuck you. I can't believe I did all that shit for you.
I forgot it was Fontaine.
Yeah, Frank Fontaine. It also it frustrated me at the point where you get to Andrew Ryan, and he tries to break you free of that by initiating it and instigating you into killing him. And it's like, that's the opposite of what you should have done.
You are a slave no longer. Now kill me, slave.
Yeah.
Thanks.
A man chooses, a slave obeys.
It's a cool scene, though. Obey!
It's great. It is a great visual. And finding out that you're Andrew Ryan's kid was like a double fucking whammy, because it felt like a huge connect the dots. Like, okay, I just don't like that after that there was so much. I feel like that should have been the big peak of the game, where it's like, okay, I just killed him. All right, yeah, no, I want to kill Fontaine. But he initiates the death switch, and I almost wish Fontaine won, because that would have been made like a climactic ending. Like, he does the kill switch, you're done. And it could still lead into the second game, because Eleanor Lamb still has the little sisters, still has that struggle with Fontaine, breaks down Andrew Ryan. She probably could have taken him out herself. And then it would have ended on the note of you were always a slave.
Well, maybe you play as Fontaine at the end stage of the Bioshock 1, and then depending on the choices you made with the little sisters, they end up killing you, or you just roam free.
Yeah, I mean, something like that. I just didn't like that we ended up friggin' going into Tenenbaum's house, and she was like, I fixed you, by the way. Cool. And then you become a big daddy, which was fun to do in the first game because you kind of wanted to be them, but then you were a weaker version of them that kind of sucked. And that last scene of you dragging around the little sister and having to wait and just being constantly attacked was really annoying. And then the climax, well, it was good. It was okay. I would have preferred something different where it just kind of ended you with Andrew Ryan. Maybe you broke yourself free through the shock, but you were raised to be that, so there was really no way to do so.
Were you shocked when the news hit you that, okay, we're having a second game and it's back in the same place and now you play as a big daddy?
I was stoked for the thought that I could be a big daddy. I did not think it was going to be what it was, which can segue us into the second overview, where in the second Bioshock, we're a diver who was taken into Rapture, turned into a big daddy. We were one of the older models, so we're bound to one single little sister, who happened to be Eleanor Lamb. We find that out in the beginning of the game, who is the daughter of Sophia Lamb. Sophia was a psychiatrist who was brought into Rapture because some people were having trouble coping with now living underwater. The time frame is a little funky compared to the first one. It's kind of hard to place it initially. And while Sophia Lamb's taking care of the mental health of some of the residents, she's sort of brainwashing them into her own little group of people, openly defying Andrew Ryan on many occasions. And it started the splintering, which ended up to downfall Rapture. It also kind of kicks in Fontaine's employees, and Sophia has particular patience. She wanted to use the atom to make utopians, and she thought there was more potential than was being utilized for starting fires and freezing baked goods. So the Sophia Lamb, when the first game ended and you either release the little sisters or take over, that doesn't really have any impact whatsoever on the second game, because either way Sophia Lamb goes to the surface and starts kidnapping little girls for her new utopian experiment, because her daughter is going to be the first utopian. I don't know, I was stoked to be a big daddy. I was like, I want to drill some bitches, but it wasn't that, but it made sense how they did it, in my opinion. I don't know, what do you think?
I would say that I think the novelty of the Big Daddy thing was slightly starting to wear off, and it almost felt weird to be one of them, as in, aren't they the most OP, but they're this overprotective, very sheltered, also very slow lumbering sort of oaf. It didn't seem like that was the right kind of pick for a protagonist. Like you, I think it made more sense the way they did it. But being what you would call a prototype Big Daddy also made it sort of strange, as in, shouldn't you be the worst? But instead you kind of become the most apex fucking predator there is in the town.
No kidding. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Is that you're faster than them, you're stronger than all of them, you're a dual wielder.
Yeah, exactly. The plasmids work really well, and I mean, the big sisters kind of make sense because now they're the bigger threats, but
the big sisters blew my mind, honestly, with the second game. I was like, what are you going to do? It's just Big Daddy versus Big Daddy. Yeah, I can take them out because I'm a people controlling them and whatever. But then the big sisters were a legitimate threat throughout the game, and they made so much sense because, what happens to them when they grow up? They don't stay little kids. And in the first game, you saw them grow up, which also confuses me for the first game because they grew up and they became lawyers and got married and were fine if you did the good ending. But in this one, they grow up and they go fucking psycho. So I don't really know what happened there.
That is to be expected. Oh yeah, they're doing what every other person is doing. Oh, of course they're not going to end up well.
True, and they do have a constant stream of Adam that's messing with their brains. But then
the juice.
Why didn't Eleanor go crazy? I guess it's just those teen years, The story for 2 was definitely more, it was very Fallout 4-ish, where it's oh, I gotta go save my baby. I can't really do anything else except save my baby or stop talking about it. the amount of endings in 2 was very intense, so it made your choices throughout the world feel more important than 1 did, I think.
Should we get it out of the way that this is your favorite of the Bioshocks?
Yeah, no, 2 is definitely my favorite. I have a lot to say about it. I fucking love 2. I love how the story morphs. I love the new antagonist. She is just she's so twisted, but in a very, very smart way. And the way that everyone trusts her it's not like Andrew Ryan, where everyone's just like, he's fucking crazy, but whatever, it's his city. Whereas she's like, she fucks with your head in such a strange way throughout the entirety of the game. Just when she speaks to you and in her recordings and the way she deals with Eleanor and the way she deals with all the other characters you meet. But I like that it also gave you a choice to meet human beings who are still just kind of living their lives, and it wasn't just constantly splicers. That was pretty cool. How, like, there is a society somewhat existing within Rapture still. It's not all just crazy people.
Man, that has me kind of bummed out because cool. I guess we both had the same opinion of Infinite, but Infinite really tried to bring in the society aspect, which I can appreciate, but it feels like Bioshock 2 is the best of both worlds, but nobody really wanted it to begin with, so it didn't really sell all that well compared to 1 or 3.
Yeah. No one asked for it. I'm glad it happened, but no one asked for it. And the underwater scenes too, I think that was unnecessary and boring.
You climb around the diving suit, do nothing?
For like 2 seconds and maybe you'll find a slug. Yeah, that was a waste of my time. But the aesthetic it brought to the surface of like, oh, these are people, but now you're not a person. So that, yeah. It's still my favorite. I fucking love everything about it. The time frame is a little funky to me still, though. Like, I'm not really sure when I'm supposed to be, because Andrew Ryan's dead, but in a lot of the talking, Sophia Lamb is within the same time frame as Andrew Ryan. They get into how she disappeared for a hot minute, so I guess.
Well, this is the weird thing, too. It's like a different district, but I never truly understood how big Rapture was supposed to be. So I'd have just assumed, like, oh, Rapture is the way it is, like, throughout all of town, the way I saw it in Bioshock 1. So 2 sort of took me into a weird spin of, wait, so people are still surviving? It's still going on? I thought everything died.
Yeah, no, it was only a couple of sections were destroyed during, I can't remember what it was. It was like an explosion or something. She had sent out, or Fontaine had sent out some people to like bomb some locations, and each district was either pushed back or taken over. So no, there's like an entire giant fucking city of people. So there's still like societies and things going on, but
that's what I think.
Which is why a lot of stuff is still running. But
I'd say that's not necessarily the second game's. It is. I think it's weird that we are sort of led to believe that from what we saw from the first game, we can just conclude that, oh, it's fine. No, people are still there. It's more of a... we should have seen this from the first game.
True. Yeah, we should have had like moments of that in the first game. I feel like there could have been a good compatibility if you like combined a lot of the aesthetics from the first game into the second. Maybe had some more time, or even like a similar character. I honestly think if you weren't a Big Daddy in the second game, it would have... Well, I mean, you both had to and you didn't have to. It could be that guy who went down to save his daughter. I would have liked his story. That would have been cool. Just like a guy starting at the top, but then it would have been too repetitive of the first one of just a guy going down and discovering Rapture for the first time. So it's a give and take.
You were born to do great things, like rescue your daughter from down there.
Yeah, you were born to go rescue your baby. And then even having him find her and her being a little sister and then it like pushing forward, that would have been a great subplot. But he just kind of sees her and then he's murdered. Which is kind of a bummer. I liked his whole storyline. But no, there's still like kids in Rapture, and they're showing that there's still like families.
They're like playing and they're just like people are enjoying quiet time, which is again not something I expected.
Yeah, like there's a moment I was really upset that where you walk in and they're talking about Johnny Topside and they're just kind of hanging around a fire and talking about him, and I'm like, why do I gotta blow these fuckers? They're just like they're just people having a rough time. But then you move and they attack you, and it's like, if you just stayed still, if you just chilled out, and then when you become a little sister in the end of the game, that's where I kind of flip-flopped that, where it's like, it was beautiful and it was cool how the statues change based on your gameplay and what you did. But there's moments where the splicers are just looking around and hanging out, but there's moments where you flash back into reality and then they attack you, and it's like, well, I mean, why wouldn't they just attack me if I'm looking at them and seeing them and they're there? Why are they standing there when I'm doing this, but not when I'm doing this? Like, I don't know.
I'm not sure you could have an argument for beautiful storytelling in wartime when people are just being normal people, and that I think the problem is that splicers are so we are so what is it? We're like programmed to be afraid of them, or at least hate them based on what we saw from the first game, which is, they're singing to themselves, or they're just like banging their heads against a wall. They don't feel like people. But in the second game, they try and make them that way, so they don't feel like splicers anymore. They feel like a very different sort of enemy.
Right. They feel like a broken population, whereas like in the first one, like they would even fight each other. Yeah. Like you'd walk into a room and splicers would be just shooting each other and murdering each other, or like standing over baby carriages.
And she's like climbing on walls. Like, that's a monster. That's not a person.
Yeah. Is it someone new? So that brings me into Infinite.
The best game, right?
Oh, God. So Infinite, a little overview, is Booker DeWitt, a private investigator who's been hired to retrieve a girl from Colombia. He's being brought to the lighthouse. Instead of going down, he goes up. And Colombia is actually named for the female personification of America, which I thought was cool. And you're immediately busted into this heavy cult feel. The aesthetic, the music, the lighting, everything is totally different from the first two games. These people worship a prophet. They pray to him. We see a lot of familiar faces. We see jacked Ben Franklin holding a key when you leave. I can't. They show the statues of the founding fathers, and they're all just like muscly jacked dudes, but with their heads.
Yeah, that's the funniest part.
I couldn't. And we get to look around for a little bit, and there's people, and there's just like a normal town. But then we're immediately like called the false shepherd, and shit hits the fan. It's the marking on our hand. Everything's very confusing up to this point, whereas in the first two games, it kind of gave you a rundown immediately of like what's going on, what needs to be done. This one leads with a very confusing, twisted story that doesn't make a lick of sense. And our goal is to get the chick and escape the city. We get the chick, but then escaping the city turns into some kind of clusterfuck of madness.
I think it gives you a lot of questions that you expect answers to because of time travel. I guess we should. Sorry, I just busted that one.
It wasn't time travel per se. It was like, I mean, there was time travel, but it was more like multiverse travel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which Elizabeth is some kind of demigod. She can time travel and world travel. And we find out why later on. But what I didn't understand was the initial reasoning until the very end as to why she had this ability. And again, sorry, spoilers if you haven't played the last one, is she's actually Booker's daughter, who was taken as a baby because the two twins were some kind of mad scientists and pulled her from her reality, and now she can go into any reality, and she lost her pinky.
I always knew people, you always know a person never finished the story because they started matching those two, and it's always that feeling of, yeah, well, you'll probably change your mind, but maybe you'll stay with it. Who knows? I
mean, I didn't like the concept of the twins, but they needed a purpose as to why she could do all this stuff. I feel like it was such an afterthought.
You mean that they just sort of interject everywhere and start talking, and you're just sort of like, can I skip this?
Yeah, or they're just places, and they just, I mean, it's supposed to send like a foreshadowing to who they are and why they're there, and they're sort of not alive or dead, and they're moving within the multiverse, and they represent the same person of one another. Wasn't it that they aren't even actually twins? They're just like...
No, they're like scientists. They're just a couple, but we don't really know... I mean, they're not the focal point. Theory. It's not like we need to know if they're siblings or not. It's more of a they are the ones that are experimenting and creating this havoc.
Yeah, I think that was a fan theory that they were the same person from two different universes. The thing that pisses me off about this game is like it gave you in the trailer and all of the lead up to it saying that like, oh, they're not going to attack you unless you attack first. It's an actual civilized society, and that's some bullshit. You literally, the second they call you the full shepherd, you are in a gunfight beginning to end of this game. You're flying around and you're just not stopping, and everything is a nightmare, and everyone sucks, and the characters are annoying. The fucking first boss guy you meet, what was he, a general or whatever?
I mean, you mean in a museum?
Yeah, you meet him in a museum, you go through the backstory of Booker, how he was a soldier, and how, like, Comstock says he did this, but he didn't, we did it, we were there, blah, 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 blah. Some kind of ground fight. And then, like, dude, he just sends wave after wave of people to die, and he's like, yeah, give him a soldier's death. And it's like, dude, why would you not just have them help us? Why are we not just on the same team and try and overthrow Comstock? This is such a non-issue, such a non-story. And then you like go and you choose to either shoot him or not shoot him, but he dies either way. Every decision in this game means absolutely nothing.
So would you like to put into words what it is about the game you dislike? Or what?
Everything. I don't like the character design. I don't like the world. I don't like how forced forward and yet convoluted it is. So it's like, okay, you need to do this, but we're going to give you 10,000 yards of space, so you figure it out. Well, I would like to see everything. Oh, well, you can't, because now you're in a different reality and your ass don't go backwards. It's like, wow, great, awesome, perfect. Also, Elizabeth is annoying.
Ooh, they'll probably pick a fight with you on that one. Considering a lot of people consider this to be one of the best like escort companions you could have.
The only reason it's a good companion is because she shuts the fuck up and you don't have to protect her. But every time, Booker, catch Booker, catch. It's like, why don't you just tell me you found something? I'll go pick it up when I'm ready. I'm trying to shoot people who are trying to murder us. I don't have time to turn my ass around and catch a fucking box of bullets. I'll pick up my own goddamn bullets. Make that damn hook appear and shut your mouth.
Would you like it more if she created a time rift? So she's like, Booker. She creates a time rift right in front of you and it leads into another guy's neck, so you can just shoot or stab through it.
Maybe, yeah, if she would help me. I don't know. It's just like every time she says my name, I just think of Navi, and it's like, yeah, okay, you're being helpful, I appreciate it, but please be quiet. Like, I understand.
You hear a silent F every time she says B, so it's like, fucker. Over here, fucker.
Fucker. And then just like the whininess of her where she's like, yeah, I can open rifts into different dimensions, but I'm still sad. It's like, why don't you just go through them? And then like she, for some reason at the end, she suddenly like becomes this fucking prophetic, like she starts out and she's like, I don't understand the world or anything. I just want to dance and it'll be fun and we'll be dancing and you killed that man. And then at the end, she's like, don't you understand, Booker? It's like, no, bitch, I don't understand. What am I supposed to understand? like she's suddenly the soft-spoken, holier-than-thou bullshitter, and I can't. I hate her so much.
That's too bad, because I like where the story could have gone, but it does feel like at the end, it's a mishmash. It's a mess. It almost feels like it collapsed on itself, like the writing or something. Because, man, so many questions in the beginning, and so many answers that I'm just sort of like, oh, okay. So the many Elizabeths kill Booker because he sort of wants for it to happen. And then we go back in time. What? But this doesn't help anything.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, Comstock's dead, and then my daughter and my not daughters are going to just drown me now. And that's the only ending you get. Mm-hmm. There is no... like, nothing you do has any consequence. It's like the purpose of these games is so you can build your character to whatever society you're integrating into. It's like, do you want to be a bad person and do everything that you can to survive? Screw everyone else?
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Or do you want to be a good person and sacrifice your own abilities and strengths to make sure someone else survives? Like, there's no point. You're already Booker DeWitt. That's it. That's who you are.
We could probably cover through, why did you choose Bioshock in the series?
A Bioshock? Just because, like, the first two games have such a place for me. Like, the first Bioshock, when I first played it, it was amazing. The music, the aesthetic, the world, the mechanics, the character design, the backstories, just everything, the little hidden items. It was so, like, it had replayability. It had, it was just amazing. And then the second one, it had a lot of aspects that I appreciated that weren't in the first one, but it also took different directions, added more characters that had their own personality. But the third one, oh, it crushed everything that made Bioshock an amazing series. It took everything away. It took away the little sisters. It took away the big daddy. It took away all its originality. Like, you fucking play Uncharted, play Far Cry. You're playing the same fucking game. Play some of the Fallout games. It's the same game now. You're welcome. You're the bad guy. You gotta go get a chick and save them, and you're the hero.
I am interested. So one of the main aspects of, like, the combat when it comes to Infinite is they open it up with these sky hooks. Wait, what do they call that?
Yeah, sky hooks, where you can use it to go on the trams and jump between places.
I'm curious. What do you think about, like, wouldn't that implore, like, more freedom and mobility? Now, I don't like them more for the reason of I don't really think it feels like you have a freedom in it, but you actually feel kind of invulnerable because as soon as you're on them, they can't really hit you the same. I don't know. Sorry, go. What would you say about them?
No, you go ahead. If you have opinion on them, my opinion is going to be loud and angry. So
yeah, that's what I'm waiting for.
No, I just think they're completely useless, and they don't have any kind of way to utilize them that doesn't make you motion sick. Like, you get up there and it's like, oh, now I gotta turn left. Now I gotta turn right. There's 60 of them. How do I know where I've gone? How do I know what I've missed? Am I gonna get to the right place? So, yeah, if you get on one, you go exactly where you need to go, but there's 30 of them in the fucking air. It's like, I want to see everything in a game when I play it for the first time. I want to go into every nook and cranny, but they're so, like, fast, and the camera angles are crazy. I feel like if you could do, like, a slow motion thing and, like, look around your environment and, like, have some kind of what's that thing in Red Dead 2 that they have in
Deadeye?
Yeah, some kind of Deadeye where you could slow down while you're on those and look around the map and see where you've been and where you need to go. Maybe they'd be more useful for travel, but the trams in and of themselves are, like, so annoying because I always feel like I'm missing something. I always feel like I'm going to bypass something because I'm going too fast, because, like, oh, I got to focus on the enemy shooting me and I can't see where I'm supposed to jump off. Yeah, no, they were stupid.
So they had no value for you. The next would be, what do you think about the powers?
Yeah.
They're not called plasmids. They're
called something.
America juice. I don't remember.
Yeah, America juice. I don't know. I was annoyed that you could only get 2 at a time. I was annoyed with that with the guns too. It's like, I mean, it makes sense. Okay, I'm just a guy with a vest. I shouldn't be able to hold 75 guns. That makes sense. But there's no choice for inventory, and there's no choice for picking things up. It's just like, oh, you wanted the crow thing? I'm sorry, now you got the horse thing. And it's like, well, fucking...
I think, no, I don't like the argument of, you want it to make sense. It's like, what motherfucker, we're up in the sky riding zeppelins, like using magic powers to create bees and flamethrowers out of our hands. No, I think I can accept that I'm holding a few more than 2 guns.
Yeah, or like dual wield the handguns. I barely used the America juice throughout the entirety of the game. It was just like, I would find a shotgun. I also didn't like the...
I had the hand cannon, I think. That's about it.
Oh, eventually, yeah, the hand cannon is great. But, like, the ammo you start finding won't coincide with the gun you have, and then they won't coincide with the gun the enemies are dropping, so you're just like, okay, I guess I'm punching everyone for the next hour. That's fine. Thanks, Elizabeth. I really needed this handgun ammo for my fucking shotgun. Like, I don't like it. And then the, I don't know, what did you think about the Patriots, or whatever they're called, the big guys?
Oh, yeah, that's what they're called. I mean, design-wise, I think a lot of the enemies do feel functionally the same as most of the ones from Bioshock. It's more of a, okay, the setting and the aesthetics have changed, so it's not really that bad. I think it's more of, if you like the original game, if you like the mechanics, you shouldn't have a big problem with them. But if you don't, then of course it's just going to be amplified.
Actually, weren't they called? No. The robots were the Patriots, and the handymen were the guys with the faces.
No, I've been thinking about. There's another one.
Yeah, the handymen. They're like actual dudes. It was to help you like live forever.
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking about the
robots, the like George Washington robot.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So I don't know. My main problem with them is that with a Big Daddy, you could just kind of walk by one and they wouldn't attack you unless you tried to hurt the little sister or them.
That was the nice thing about them. They were like the boss mook, but compared to everyone else, you know, the biggest bad guy is actually pretty passive. This one is just fuck you up.
Yeah, it's just like, oh shit, hope the lights don't come on, and he powers his ass up and battery acids my face. And they weren't even that hard to beat either, so it wasn't the same as like a Big Daddy where you felt like you were going against a force. It was just kind of like a bigger version of a guy. And if you just hide somewhere small, there's so many places to just stand in that game and nothing can touch you. And
I feel bad about complaining about it. I think this is a problem I have personally with first-person games, but this came into play a lot with Bioshock Infinite. I don't really like gun combat, at least not against NPCs, because it doesn't really ever feel like you can outskill, say, if they're shooting at you, they're either sort of like binarily missing because they're supposed to, or because you are now behind some sort of wall. And so it doesn't at all play the same way as if you're fighting a melee splicer, where it feels like, okay, I can dodge, I can sort of move around, I can wait, or I can shoot them with a plasmid. But as soon as I'm in gun combat with somebody, it just feels like, okay, I'm going to take some amount of damage, and then I have to wait or find items, or I'm going to be behind that wall, and I either just have to wait, or I head out there and expect to take more damage.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Like in the first two games, the splicers, it was hard to find weapons in Rapture. It was hard to find all these higher tech things in Rapture, and they were lacking. They were kind of poor, and they sought out Adam because they couldn't get it on the reg. So in a world where it's just like you can just have a gun and everyone has a gun and everyone has the assaults and everyone is on the same level, it's like I don't feel like a protagonist. I feel like I'm just, you know, a dickhead ruining a society that's already functioning on its own, and I'm just coming into your town and blowing shit up. It's like, yeah, your town's a little messed up, you don't treat people right, but who am I to come topple your buildings and fuck up your shit? Like, this kid's playing in the garden right now, eating lollipops.
It's just some bioterrorist who starts beefing themselves up, leveling up, and then they just start fucking you. However they can.
Right. It's like, why? They don't, I mean, they're dickheads. They try and set up the society so you don't feel bad for them. So like with the baseball in the beginning, it's like, oh, they're racist dicks. But I mean, they're people during a time period where everyone was racist dicks. So, I mean, you can't really make them the enemy off the bat. It's like they're just people living. They're not like splicers who are drug addicts who will do anything to fucking get a high. Like, I don't know. It's funky. I don't like them, but...
Would you say it's short-sighted?
Yeah, I don't think they've made them enough of an enemy. So when you get to the point where you're with the rebels, it's like, yeah, no, they're doing it the proper way. Like under the city, they're making change from the inside. They're doing it both peacefully and with force. Like, why am I burning shit down? Like, I've just decided today to knock your statue down because I gotta save this bitch. By the way, your prophet's a lie, and I'm gonna steal your Zeppelin. Okay, bye.
That like sucks about the game too. I hate that when you run into an area and you can immediately see, okay, this is a combat area. There's no way to escape it because we have all of these goddamn trams and we have these walls everywhere. That's one of those like tropes of games that always feel so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would have rather they went the way of The Last of Us, where you can choose to head on a situation, or you can choose to kind of blend into a crowd, or walk around, or sneak by. Like, that's not a Bioshock-esque way to do it, but this whole game has already rejected the original Bioshock gameplay. Might as well do something completely different and allow them to, like, because, I mean, you just look like a guy. What? Because they can see your hand. Like, they know you're a bad guy. Fucking put a glove on. You're fine. And then you can go shopping with Elizabeth and no one will care. I didn't like that. I also didn't like, well, I'll get to that. I have some bullet points I wanted to go over with this one. The first one is, within these games, what was your initial reaction to the protagonist of the game, and who's your favorite protagonist?
I hate to say it, but the first one I had really no reaction. I mean, you don't have a reaction when you start the game, much other than, okay, a photograph, and I suppose I'm supposed to be somebody special. I don't care. I don't have much to say about them, and then they're silent protagonists. That's fine. Second game, it's a little more personal, more because I was curious to where they were going. I mean, I could say I didn't expect them to head on to this being like I don't know why. I know in story, Big Daddies are people that have like been turned into these monstrosities, but it's weird, really weird to see it that way. And I don't know why, but I thought it was kind of engaging, but at the same time, I like the world of Rapture more than I like the people. The third game, not so much. I think Booker is more of like he's a B grade protagonist. He's like a Nathan Drake if he loses a little bit of his personality.
Yeah, I can sort of agree. I kind of liked, character-wise, the first guy made the most sense with the story. He didn't really have any kind of personality, and at the end, if he had more of a personality and a backstory, I think I would have hated it more, because showing that he's just some kind of robotic vassal for this accomplishment makes sense that he didn't have any kind of thing to say or any opinions or draw or background. They said, oh yeah, you're special. But he wasn't. He was made for a purpose, and then he accomplished that purpose. The second one, when it hit who you actually were, like being a big daddy and waking up as a big daddy and feeling like, oh snap, I'm like legit, and then explaining like, oh, you were a scuba diver and giving you your backstory and what happened to you. I liked him a little better. Booka's a vanilla asshole, okay? Booka is like, he snaps at the slightest thing, and he just like, everything he says is annoying. He was like, when he falls on the beach and he's like, yeah, go dance, it's fine. And then you go to get her and you're like, oh shit, you gotta stop dancing. And it's like, well,
right, well, he's like a Naughty Dog character who you just sucked something out of it, so it's not the same. It's like, he quips
and then he
sometimes.
lies to her.
Oh, that's true too. He quips sometimes.
He's like, we're gonna go to France. He does, but
no. But I'm also saying he's like Joel, where he's like this really grouchy asshole, but then he reverts to like the basic, go back to the blank slate.
Yeah, with Booker, he flip flops so often. It's like, dude, chill out, just breathe. You'll be fine. You're okay.
So the bullet points are: 1. Mixed bag, you like it because it makes sense. Me, I don't really have an opinion, but I like the silent protagonist stuff. I like yes, I'm one of those assholes who played System Shock. I like System Shock 2, and I don't think the general person would prefer System Shock 2, but I do like its approach to gameplay, and I will always go for gameplay first. That's why I think Bioshock 2 is probably the best.
Yeah. And with Booker, too, like, if he had literally just told her, like, listen, someone sent me to come save you. That's what I'm doing. I got to take you back to New York. She'd probably be cool with it. But now he's like, I'm going to lie to her. Definitely got to lie. Which kind of brings me to the second point. Do you feel like the main character in any of these games are, like, good or evil? And did your choices impact your perception of them? Or was your perception already kind of the same based on how you played the game?
I mean, the first one is sort of exactly that, where it's... You don't really have you can't say the character is good or evil, other than maybe the environment they grew up in would have made more sense for them to be evil. At least in the hell is his name? What is the first main character's name in the first one?
They say it.
John Ryan.
I don't remember.
With that. So John Ryan is
someone.
I feel like he should be somewhat of like a. Maybe he's like a rebellious tyrant almost, where he's trying to go against his father's wishes and trying to be like, no, and I'm going to go for the capitalist route. But he doesn't really, but it hasn't really come to terms with it until he's grown up into this phase and until he's come to terms with just how fucked up the world is and the great things he'll accomplish after his father. I'm not sure. But it doesn't really reflect, because I'm assuming the canon ending is you. Is there a canon ending for 1?
Canon ending? Yeah, I mean, basically for 1, either way, you take over well, you take the key. You can reject it, and then you bring the little sisters up with you, and then you live on the surface, or you take over Rapture, and then you take the splicers to the surface.
Yeah, so in one way or another, something surfaces.
Yeah, even when you take it over, I don't think there's any legitimate mention of difference until it's like Sophia Lamb resurfaces in the second one, and then her influence takes over Rapture regardless. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. In the first one, it's very cool that you can mold the character to your own preferences. Mm-hmm. In the second one, you almost feel like a forced hero, because whether you act good or bad, your goal is to save your little sister, who you perceive as your daughter. Nice. So even if you act like a bad person, you're technically being the hero because you're attempting to save her, and everything you do is for her.
I think the problem there is that I think you can make a great story about somebody like in a very evil way, forcibly trying to retrieve your daughter or whatever. It's just that it's still portrayed in a pretty heroic light, which I don't like.
Yeah, so even if you have been bad throughout the whole thing, like I think if they took the moment where you became a little sister and then they were showing your past, they have those statues showing you either killing or saving the human beings, but you're still all draped in gold and you're still the hero in their eyes. But the reaction, it was really cool how they did the reactions from the little sister. So if you just do bad stuff and you kill people and you're horrible up to a point, when you approach a big daddy who has a little sister, she'll act either afraid of you or happy to see you before you even take her. And I think that's a good aspect of creating a hero character versus a villain character. Mm-hmm. But they'll still always trust you and they'll still always come to you. So yeah, that could have been done better.
Imagine it's like he checks if it's his daughter, snaps its neck if it isn't.
It's like, nope, wrong, baby. They all look the same. They do. And then Booker, like, it doesn't matter. He's not built to be a good guy or a villain. He's just a guy getting a job done, and his attitude just stays annoying throughout the whole thing. It's like there's no chance for you to build the character. I don't like when games do that.
Well, I could appreciate that we're supposed to have more of they wanted to have their own story here, but it clashes with this few moments where it's supposed to be like a moral choice. We're just like, well, this doesn't make sense. Just have the character deliver his monologue and kill the guy, or don't. It doesn't make sense to have like will you murder this man in cold blood? And Booker will be like, hell yeah, motherfucker. And then he still just delivers his own story.
Yeah, none of the options really felt like they had any weight at all to them. Like, no matter what you pick, it doesn't matter. It's not like you start doing evil stuff and he becomes a more evil guy, or you start doing good stuff and his
it doesn't reflect in how he talks to people or what happens around him either. It's just more of well, we're going to have this extremely brutal murder scene, or I'm going to decapitate a man with some sort of weird, whatever the weapon is called.
Yeah, and that's just him doing stuff.
Yeah, that's just life, I guess.
Yeah. Even if they had some kind of meter where, like, he would start talking different. They did that in Red Dead. Like, if you start acting a certain way, just the smallest effect, even though there's only one ending. That's I was going to say that's fine, but it's not. That annoys the shit out of me. But I don't know. It felt totally pointless to give you any choice at all, and they do it so many times throughout the game.
I don't want to fault primarily Infinite for that. It feels like, especially during that time, we had a lot of moral choice games and dilemmas.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else did I have?
Oh, what is it called? Infamous was hilarious that way.
Infamous?
Yeah, like,
Infamous Second Son?
The first one is just like, I could either help these people and give them some food, or I could fry some fuckers and take it all for myself. It's like, well, I don't believe this guy can be good.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Oh yeah, in the games, how did you feel about the different hacking mechanics?
Oh, you really wanted to go there? Of course the second game improved it.
They did, but they also took away the drama.
The drama?
Yeah, the first game you had to match all the pipes.
Yeah, but time stops. So there is no drama. You can do it in mid.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, you can do it mid combat, and nobody can hit you.
Oh, yeah, no, that part, yeah. But when you're doing it, the fluid starts to go and there's drama there. No, the second one definitely made it more immersive. It's like, okay, do I kill everyone first and get this done, or I try and get through it?
Or,
definitely.
I hacked it mid-combat, now it's fighting for me. That's a really good aspect.
Yeah, no, that was great. I meant the actual hacking itself.
The hacking is fine. The problem is, I remember I played it on Impossible, and I remember so many times where you got the impossible scenario where all 4 lines are red, so there's nothing you can do. You just have to take the damage, or
no matter which way you went.
No.
Woof. And then in Infinite, she opens locks, kinda. If you have lockpicks, sometimes. And sometimes you open a door and it's for no reason. Wasted my time. No, I fucking could not stand it. I could not stand it. Because even in the second one, it's like, yeah, you needed the hack dart sometimes, but if you got close enough to it, you can still hack it. With this, it's like you can only let her lockpick, and only if you have the correct number of lockpicks, which you'll find maybe. So frustrating. That was horrible.
Could be a plashment.
Yeah, because then you could even run out of salts, but they're everywhere. So that leads me to items and healing, how those functioned in the 3 games. How did you feel about the different functionalities of the items?
Well, in all 3 games, you still had the aspect of around the world, you'll be able to find all these little small items and goods that you can quickly take to increase your health and restore health and restore your mana, or whatever you want to call it. And by itself,
but the 3rd game took it out.
Well, no, you chug everything you find in a trash bin.
Yeah, but you can't carry any potions or heal during combat.
Yeah, that's again. Sorry, that's why I think the 3rd game is a little bit odd, because I think the 2nd game built on the 1st game, and that's pretty much it. It just tried to fix and improve on the 2nd game, or keep telling the story the 1st game had. And the 1st game is so close to System Shock in a lot of ways that it just feels like, okay, this is a System Shock remaster, if you want to call it that. Not really, but it's close enough to where you can definitely see where they fit together and where one has learned from the other. Infinite feels like it's trying to be its own game, and because of it, I can both admire it, and I both feel like I don't want to play it anymore. So again, they don't have the med kits, whatever you want to call them. They don't have the 9 stores of plasmid juice, because I guess they didn't want you to hoard those things, so you can just easily heal yourself during combat. But again, the argument comes back to me. I don't like gun combat, and if I'm forced to wait and be so careful in these encounters, then I just won't enjoy it at all. And I generally like to play in harder difficulties, but in this one, I'm just like, I don't want to be in combat, and I don't feel like I can explore the world enough without triggering combat that it feels like it's worth it anyway.
Yeah, my first playthrough for any game, I always like to go story mode or the easiest mode, because I want to get into every nook and cranny I can before I absolutely destroy it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like the fact that it's like, why can't you just hold like even 1 or 2 things of health or bandages? Like, keep a candy bar in your pocket, Booker. But no, you have to search trash cans in the world, even though there's stores. And that brings me to the dying mechanic in this game.
No Vita chambers.
No Vita chambers. So, yeah, that's what I was going to say. In 1 and 2, it made sense because it made a chamber specifically for if you die. And it made more sense in the second one, I think, because it shows the little sisters bringing your DNA to a Vita chamber, so you're registered in it, whereas the first one is just like, that's how it works.
In the second one, you can at least be like, oh, it's a Big Daddy. They're sort of rebuilt or something. The first one,
and
the first one just feels like, again. Well, wouldn't everyone just keep coming back all the time?
Well, that's why they show the recycling of splicers. So, like, if you leave an area, you'll come back and it will replace it with the same splicer. Mm-hmm. So they kind of show that the Vita chambers work for everyone down there. If your DNA is registered, if you don't die in a certain way or something like that. It's the same in the second one. They keep bringing that big guy back. Yeah, if you're just not murdered by a little sister. I think that was it too. If like the little sisters take your atom, but that could have also been a fan theory I read. But the third one. Doesn't make any fucking sense. So you die, and then you're in your office, and then you leave the office, and then you're alive.
Well, I thought the idea is that Elizabeth brings you back or something. The problem there is if you haven't found Elizabeth yet, there's no reason for that to be happening. So it's a really weird a cycle of nothing.
But then there's like, okay, yeah, maybe it was a different Elizabeth who's watching everything happen. But in that case, why wouldn't you just stop me from being killed in the first place?
That's funnier. Whoops, that one failed.
Or assist. Or like talk about it or do something about it at all, like literally anything to help. So it doesn't make any sense why when you die you go back into this room.
Oh, that could be a cool mechanic. So when you said you would like to slow down for when you're riding the trams, imagine the slowdown being her trying to guide you. So she's like, you can almost hear her voice when it happens. It's because she's helping you like find a new mark, or maybe she's highlighting the enemies or something.
That would have been a cool Easter egg if like right when you're about to die, you like are pulled or fall into something or like flash back, kind of like Tracer yourself, and then right before it happens, and that's her like taking that moment and pulling you back, and it doesn't until it's revealed in the end. Yeah. Until it's revealed in the end. But I don't know. That also leads me to the second point is the world and story exploration in and of itself. So the story and the world in the first two with the Vita chambers and the way everything's set up versus the third one where it's like exploration almost feels like a chore. To be able to get a moment of solitude and silence and quiet to actually appreciate the world that you've been put into. It's just like, ugh, you get sick of it. Like, I don't know.
I like how it's being torn down. Just keep it coming. What's the next bullet point?
Yeah, no, I tried to put them in order of everything that annoys me the most and wrapping up to the end of it. But
so these are the small annoyances?
Yeah, pretty much. My biggest problem with the third game is so fucking petty.
Yeah, bring it. It's like, I hate her fucking eye color. They're so ugly.
Her haircut annoys me. It wouldn't be that short if she was in solitude. Her hair would be so much longer if she was living so many years on her own. No, that wasn't it. But now I'm mad about that. The fucking voxophones.
Wait.
Why?
You mean because it doesn't make sense in this time?
No! So, in Rapture, you find a bunch of stuff. Andrew Ryan left. He's like, I want this all recorded. I want you guys to record your experiences in your lives for future generations to hear. And it makes sense that you can find them around because people would have kept them on them and then they would have been murdered or running away from things or they would have been taken and misplaced. So that's why you can find them all around the world. But the voxophones... There's people still living. There's people all around you you can just talk to. You could have just had conversations. You could have made NPCs where you like go into the room and they talk about the world and what's going on. There's no reason for this little girl's voxophone to be on a bench. You know how expensive those things are? Why would you just record on a voxophone and then leave it on a bench? It would be in their houses. They would still have them. Like there's no reason for these to be left around the world whatsoever. They're pointless. They have no place where they are and it makes zero sense. And they annoy the shit out of me. It's like just create characters. If you're gonna make this world where people are still in a society, create the character and just have them talk to the character or something like or break into their house. You could go the
sort of Fallout route where instead of voxophones of people, you could have it just be like maybe these are fairy tales from this world and these are actual voice actors or voiceover artists reading them, or it's just music. I agree, though. It is weird for people to just be leaving these things lying around, and they're telling their life stories when they're not really in any danger in their minds.
Yeah, or like talking about random stuff that they like, and it's like, why is this here? Why wouldn't you just have this in your home? If they were doing that, they did the slideshow thing, the little picture boxes you can find with the story. Mm-hmm. That could have been it. Those make sense to have everywhere. But if you're gonna find these voxophones or any tape recording, they should always be like, you can go into this person's house, or you can go into a library, or you can go into these places where like people who have died have recorded their lives and you can listen through them. But it's not. It's just like diaries people leave on the street. I'm so mad about it.
That you shouldn't be able to just steal.
Yeah, you shouldn't just find these lying around. Even when you go to the guy and he's like showing to buy them, it's like, record your thoughts and feelings. It's great. It's brand new in technology. Why would you buy the newest fucking technology, record one thought on it, and then throw the whole thing away?
What do you mean? It's because it's a series. It's a sequels to this franchise that people love. Of course we're going to have that again.
Yeah, but it would be better if, like, you could purchase that voxophone, and then as you're exploring the world, you find tapes or records. Not the entire fucking voxophone. So stupid. I don't know. That's my biggest qualm.
If you say that is the most petty, I think it's a nitpick. That's certainly fun. I mean, that agrees to the flavor of the world. I think it's a problem. It's a detriment if you really want to look into it. It's a flavor because they want to tell a story, but they didn't really know how to tell the story.
Oh, it's just another thing to find. And it's like, why? We should have just bought the voxophone, and then as we're jumping through people's houses, we find tapes and we steal them because we're already a dickhead. Just the first vox you find on that park bench just infuriated me to a point of rage. Like, ugh. And it was a kid's too, so I was only thinking, like, your parents bought you this fucking thing for who knows how much money. It's on a bench. Yeah.
Again, System Shock did it, so we could have it again. I kind of like those too. Many of them at least tell the story of how they became monsters and such. It's like, oh, this man, like, the orangutan factory is all amidst. They're all in an uproar. I guess I should be checking out that place. It was never heard from again. I mean, it's just okay.
In those though, it's like, okay, the time has already passed. In the first Bioshock, the second Bioshock, and System Shock, all the shit has hit the fan, and we're past the fan shit. And that's why stuff is places and left behind and broken down and changed. But this is still a functioning society.
No, I agree.
There's no
I haven't
reason.
Disagreed. It's just...
No, I like them in those games. I just... Like, if you're going to leave out Little Sisters and Big Daddies, leave those out too. We don't need them. You have the video things. Perfect. I like that. I think that was a cool aspect of that game. And finding them was fun. But voxophones pissed me off.
I think what I liked most about Infinite is when I didn't really... Oh, that's so stupid. Yeah, when he fell down on the beach and she wanted to start dancing and they're just sort of talking and running around. I like that aspect the most, but it also feels like, okay, that's because they're done something kind of different and we're not forced into the same Bioshock gameplay, because that's when the game falls flat, I think.
Yeah, also if we had like a couple more moments like that. I mean, we are in a big city where we can do things, and
I want to ride the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, just a bit more time, because it's like, oh, no one at this beach knows you're the false shepherd, even though you just fell out of the fucking sky onto the sand, but no one's going to talk about it. Let's dance. But then that moment of calm is over in an instant, and you don't really enjoy any part of how the world is. Where I think that'd be cool, like,
well, that's
like
where
how
the
they did in the
intro's
DLC.
Cool. Oh, the DLC is fine too.
Yeah, the DLC for Infinite is exactly what I wanted for it.
I hear that was
like,
sorry, go ahead.
No. I probably making the same point. It's just like, yeah, there's stores and there's shops and you can go interact with the NPCs and you're interacting in the world. And yeah, there's points where you got to go fight shit, but you can always pull back into society. And when you're in those areas, you're just a person, and that was amazing.
So it's Bioshock Infinite, but if it's good.
Yeah, if it was good.
I'm so sorry to all the listeners enjoying it. I'm sure you are definitely allowed to like it, and my opinion isn't correct. What I do think is that there's something missing, and I hope you enjoy it anyway.
No, there's tons missing, and I hope you didn't enjoy it, because it was stupid. No, you can like whatever you like. I'm just saying, in the world of Bioshock, it was not good.
I feel bad because I really need to play them more.
Play what?
I need to. You were the one who most recently replayed Bioshock. I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
And that was the first game, or did you play both of them recently?
I played one of them on my stream. I don't know if I finished it, and then I played 2 recently on just my Xbox.
Out of all the sequels and franchises we could cover, even though I like those games and I do think about them sometimes when it comes to them, I sometimes feel like, I'm not equipped to handle it right. There's so much I should be researching on. I always feel like there's always one more thing that I start remembering, and oh boy, we should have talked about that, but then I forget. The weapons too.
Yeah.
The weapons look cool in Infinite. Practically, I get so bored with them immediately, and that's probably also because you only have two. You can only have the two, the two ones you're holding onto hand, and then you have to find something else, and you have to hope that it's something you want to use. It's so much more fun when you can just switch between the weapons, or maybe you gain a weapon that you want to focus on. That's fine though, that you can go back to another weapon. Maybe I want to go back to the crossbow and make crossbow traps. I like that about the second game. And no, but that's only for a moment in the third game. You only have some amount of time before you're either forced to switch or you are going to be an idiot and run around looking for ammo.
Yeah, no, that was so annoying. I ended up just punching everything. In the first game and the second game, my favorite weapons are always like the initial melee. Like I love the wrench and I love the drill. The second game made the drill a little more tedious with the fuel, but it made sense. Like I shouldn't have to charge up my drill. No other fucking big daddies around looking for drill fuel. But in the third game, it just felt like, okay, I hope I find bullets now for the gun that I have, because in 2 seconds I'm gonna have to swap it out again, and then maybe it'll be a good gun. And then I feel like you don't even learn anything about your enemies. Whereas in the first one, it's like, all right, so this kind of ammo from this gun affects this one the most. So you're more inclined when you're in an area with more of them to have that specific gun. But
in
the third one, it's just like, this one's weapons on the ground. Yeah. Yeah, no, the weaponry and the restriction that you had in the third one was frustrating.
What's the next point of hate? Next bullet point.
Oh, it is the endings, the twist endings and the predictability of them. Which one had the best ending?
I never really see where you go with time travel. That's why I'm always sort of not invested, but I'm interested to see how they fuck things up normally. Yeah. I didn't think Infinite was as bad as I hoped. As in, I don't mind that sort of twist where it's like, well, you are the false shepherd and you're sort of forced into this point of no return. I think it's the problem of I didn't really like how it was written into being in that position, and I'm expecting that you don't like it because you didn't really have any say in what the character is like. You probably played him like an evil bastard, and you didn't feel like he actually came away that way.
Yeah, I don't like a game where it's like it feigns options of being a bad person, and then it doesn't let you be that person. I want to be an evil dick. I don't like how many hints were dropped in, like, obvious hints were dropped in Infinite. It was just like, oh, okay, I kind of get what's up, but it doesn't make any sense, but I get where you're going. Like, they showed, when you first meet her and her pinky's gone, you're like, the fuck is that about? And then when it starts moving into, like, oh, you're Comstock's kid, who would pay this guy to retrieve the girl then from Comstock? It's just like, it started making sense, like, where it was going, and then it only gave you the one ending anyway, and then it was convoluted and twisting, and then no matter where you walked on the fucking bridge, it didn't matter. In the first game, I think it was the most shock value, because it really didn't give you too much information before it dropped that bomb on you. No. I mean, unless you play it the second time, and then it kind of hits you with it, and you're like, oh, duh, yeah. Here every fucking time he says, would you kindly, and it just burns your soul. That's a silly thing. You kind of just imagine, like, okay, that's just a weird speech impediment, or he just says that. That's just the way he is. But then it actually becomes wait, my character is now in it. I think it's kind of weird because when you play the game, it's very likely that any player, especially me, I just run around and explore stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, eventually I'll make it to the goal. I don't think most people would be like, would you kindly pick up the radio or something? And you'll immediately be like, yeah, pick up the radio. I'm going to do it right now. So it's yeah, but it sort of hits you with the, oh, so I'm a slave now? I didn't really feel like it before, but okay, sure. It's a cute story. That's the brilliance of it, though, is like you're not meant to feel like you're being controlled by him, but you actually have to do everything he says, even like regardless. I was so petty. The second time I played through the game,
you tried everything.
I sat in the submarine for like 30 minutes when he said, "Would you kindly pick up the radio?" And I just sat there and went, "You fucking asshole, I hate you so much." For 30 full minutes, I would not pick up that radio.
You think they could have made that even more scary than this? Like, you don't pick it up, and after a while, it feels like the walls are crumbling or something. So you're sort of like, I have to pick it up, even though nothing's happening.
Something, yeah. I mean, that would be really hard to do, but
oh, you think so?
Oh man, the first time you see that on the wall, and you just like, oh, you son of a bitch. Then yeah, and then the ending with Eleanor, there was no real twist, but when you realize how much everything you did not only affected your ending, but your daughter's ending, or not your real daughter, but Eleanor's ending, I think there's eight different endings to 2. It's like, I want to play that again. I want to play that again. I want to see exactly how I changed not just her, but her whole life. And it was so sad. Like, no matter what you did, it was so sad. But
yeah, but I would say exactly, that's not a twist. That's more of a, no, here's the conclusion, or here's the consequence of your actions. And that's what it should be. I don't think it necessarily something. The twist is nice in Bioshock 1, but if the story itself feels flat for the rest of the remainder of every time you play it, then I think that's a strike against it. In the second game, at least, you're sort of like, okay, and now I'm going to have a bad playthrough, and naturally the bad ending, or whatever you want to call it, will follow.
Right. And then there's like the median, so it's like, oh, maybe I'll kill the people and save the little sisters, maybe I'll save the little sisters and kill all the people, maybe I'll kill some and save, like, there's so many different options. But the first playthrough of Bioshock 2, when I played it, I thought the ending was going to affect me and like what I was going to do at the end, like maybe kill Sophia or save Sophia. But when it turns out that everything I do was being passed down to Eleanor, that hit hard. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't just playing for me, I was playing for her. And like everything after that, like whether she saves or kills the little sisters to get the water boiling, the statues. Yeah, you feel a little more, because it's not like in a video game where you can choose to be evil and then you're just evil and everyone else suffers for it. It's like, okay, you choose to be evil, now this character's evil. Like, oh, wait a minute, hold up, this is just supposed to be for me. I
think that's a debating point. I think depending on the player, because I think a lot of people would just be like, oh, well, it doesn't even affect me, so why do I care? While others would be like, oh no, the innocent little girl or little baby. I'm sure you could. Little baby. Well, I'm sure you could get into the debate of, what if you played a game where the sequel was only based on your, let's say your playthrough of, I played evil, so the sequel I wake up in, the whole city has been ruined. Whereas if it's the opposite, if you play the good guy, maybe the city's like really sprawling and full of life and activity, and maybe there's a war somewhere else where you got to do something. Like, I'm sure that could be a good interpretation, but saying it's good or bad seems a little weird to me.
Yeah, well, they did that they tried to do that in like the Walking Dead video game.
Oh boy,
that didn't really. We can talk about those ones later. Sure. I got some stuff to say about Clementine.
Did you play? Which ones did you play?
All of them.
Oh man, I couldn't.
Which one did you get stuck on? We'll take a quick detour.
Okay, first season, I like it a lot. I think it's one of the best. Well, of course, they haven't done that many, but it's not the best of what do they call it? Telltale?
Yeah.
But it's very good. I think a lot of the characters are good enough to where you're just sort of like, I don't want to see these people die, and there are a lot of moments where really goofy, but it's a fun little story in of itself, and I like that it's not too closely tied to the original story either, so this could go either way. Lee's a good character, good actor, and their relationship with Clementine is fine, and the other character's fine too. Second game, fuck me, where I was already done. Because it has so many moments of, Clementine, go do this shit. And it's like, I'm a little kid. I'm the same age as your daughter.
I am a child.
Yeah, why the fuck would you send me to a bridge to try and fight a bunch of zombies along one other guy in melee? What the fuck is wrong with you? And there are so many of those moments. And it's like, dude, little kid, why didn't you help me, you fucker? It's like, what? What is this? What is this world?
Why'd you cut off my girlfriend's arm, you dick?
3 weeks later.
And then he has to show Maru Big B. But yeah, we totally got off topic with this one.
That's fine. It's the sequel of this thing.
So I think we can agree that Bioshock 2 is the best out of the 3. 3 sucks, and 1 could have been better. And that's just my opinion.
1 has to figure. So I forgive you for being the first one. The second one.
Yeah, if they did a 1 remastered in a way that actually remastered it, I think it could have been brilliant.
I would say, oof, that's a tough one. Would you rather have like a proper remaster of 2 in the future, or would you rather they try that with the first game?
Well, they already did remaster the first game. I feel like if they were going to do 2, they might as well, like... There's I don't know, I can't think of any improvement that wouldn't alter the game in a way that would end up making it worse than it is. But no, I think it's okay. I think maybe remastering the graphics, adding in some more backstories, adding in some more NPC options, because I really just wish you met the guy who was looking for his daughter, because that was the only person that you met that was like in the present happening, like maybe seeing him one time, or watching the play out of him seeing his daughter, and then that's a little sister that you pick up and get for your mister. But there's so much added stuff that I don't
just
think
seeing her
bother.
like watching her father murder people, or just be like trying to avoid him because he can't even tell you're the little sister, or you're not his daughter.
Yeah, in the recording you can hear her in the background and he's talking to her, and then he gets killed before you enter the room. I'm thinking if you could come in that. And then you be the one who has to kill him to get the little sister. That'd be pretty intense.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you just hear him saying, like, I found her, my little girl. And then you hear her singing, and then another big daddy kills him. But then you don't find his body or anything, and it's kind of a non-issue.
What is a game? I know this is sort of off topic. No, it's not the same. What is a game that you would like to see remastered, Chelsea?
A game I would like to see remastered?
That's the question. What is a game I would like to see remastered, Chelsea?
What game would I... I repeated it to give myself more time to think about it. Honestly, Fatal Frame.
Oh. Damn.
Fatal Frame, the first one, because I love the second one. The second one's amazing, but the first one was so PlayStation 1-y in its graphic and controls. If they remastered that with better graphics, it would be fucking phenomenal.
I kind of want to see a PlayStation 1 Fatal Frame. That sounds awful, and I would kind of like to see.
Yeah. Well, I think it was for PS2, but it was very PS1-y graphics-wise and control-wise, like very blocky and hard to control. 2 was amazing. Even if they remastered like
2
3,
still looks good. I'm surprised by how good it looks compared to even the most recent Fatal Frames.
Dude, Fatal Frame 2. We should do a Fatal Frame fucking podcast after this one, but
just a horror podcast.
Fatal Frame. Oh yeah, Fatal Frame 2 was so fucking good. It had story, it had atmosphere, it had a companion mission without kind of any restriction. Fucking, I hated her. And I was cool when she started getting kind of murdered. It has different endings. It has secrets. It has constant replayability. You always want to do better in your next playthrough. Like, there's ghost pictures you miss, and you get so ready for it. And then, yeah, no, I loved it. I love the Fatal Frame series.
I found my sister crushed when she saw the ending. I felt so bad because I had no idea what it was. And then I play the game, and it's like, this is why you're sad. Oh, wait, that's not okay. I'm sorry.
Dude, you can... I did it again. Stupid headphones.
Hello?
There's an ending when you can just, like, fuck off.
Oh, yeah, you just leave her. Like, the ritual conducts, and you just get the fuck out.
Come on, reconnect. There we go. I think I got it.
I mean, the ritual conducting and then just leave her.
Yeah, well, there's a door in the back of the shrine on the top of the hill. So what you can do is once she disappears, you can just go into that shrine, move the piece of wood, and leave.
Yeah, I remember. I know I never did that ending because it's not really something you see. It's not like you can observe that happening. It's more of a, no, I kind of have to go out of my way to get out of here.
I did it by accident.
Were you just exploring?
Yeah. I went up to the tower because I like to go everywhere. I knew where I was supposed to go, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to walk all the way over here. And so I was like, move this piece of wood, and it's like, go down this tunnel. And I thought I was going to like a different area, and then the ending played, and I was like, the fuck? What? And you just leave her to die.
Oh, that
Maybe that's a second playthrough.
Oh, that make you feel.
Yeah, no, I'm the worst. I was like, that was a short game. I looked it up and was like, oh, I wasn't supposed to abandon my sister.
You played
and
badly.
let her die. I did. It's weird, too, because with that game, the good ending is actually the ending where you kill her.
Well, it's the sad good ending. It's the, we could put the spirits to rest, but I don't feel good about it. And the bad ending is where she goes blind.
No, it's so good. So, since we got to wrap this up at some point, why don't you tell us in the comments what your favorite game is? Did you agree with our opinions on Bioshock and then other things we decided to talk about?
Favorite game?
out of nowhere.
Out of those three? Oh, that's one thing.
Out of all of the games. No, out of those three, which Bioshock did you like the best? Are there any second or third games that you think are good? Do you agree with my opinion that all third games are bad? And I will stick by that forever. Do you like Fatal Frames? Do you like chicks in tiny miniskirts chasing ghosts? Let us know in the comments down below. Other than that, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back with more opinions and more games and more Disney in the next Chill With Me podcast. But till next time, I'll be around. Ciao, kittens. You guys say bye, too.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.